Welcome.
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 Welcome to Startup Central Victoria.
This is an exciting and collaborative journey.
Creating and growing businesses in the region.
Together we can learn to work and support each other.
We look forward to hearing more about your business ideas.
And thank you for your commitment to our region.
This is a wonderful, exciting time for businesses. We know you've been through a lot and we're really looking forward to working together with you as a region.
And finally, can I say that entrepreneurial spirit and commitment leads to transformational change. What a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kerry Anderson and I'm part of the Startup Centre Victoria program. And this is one of my favourite things to do, talking to real business people about their experiences and sharing ideas. But first, I'd like to start by acknowledging and extending my appreciation for the traditional owners of the land. I know we're coming in from a few different places, but we are meeting on Yorta Yorta, Dja Dja Wurrung and Tongarung country in Central Victoria, and maybe some of you are further afield. So I think it was almost 2 years ago that I interviewed these two wonderful ladies in business, Suzanne Carroll of Cool Clutch and Elise Brown of Fair Dinkum Dogs. I feel like I've known Elise all my life. And Suzanne, I met at the 2006 Bendigo Pitch Fest. I was a judge and she won. So immediately she was on my radar. It was a great night, wasn't it, Suzanne?
It certainly was.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So I've been following these two businesses for some time. And 2 years ago, when the pandemic hit, they were very kind and came on and talked about their experiences of setting up an online business, which was something that was really helpful for people at the time that were trying to pivot their businesses from traditional to online whilst they couldn't operate normally. And it was such a great chat. So I'm really looking forward to today. So I'll just introduce them briefly, but I think they probably should describe their businesses in a bit more detail. So I'll start with you, Suzanne. Now, it's correct you're living at Riddells Creek now. You were formerly Gisborne, yes. So you're in Macedon Ranges.
Yep.
And what I love about your story, because your story is in my book, so I've written up in quite detail. I love the story where you woke up one morning and told your husband that you're going to start a business, cool by nature and cool by name, and you did it. So explain to us what Cool Clutch is, please.
So it's a very simple concept, basically. It is a handbag and a cooler bag combined. So my driving force at the time was to hide my wine in my handbag and keep it cool. And when I asked my husband whether I could borrow some money out of the mortgage, it was October 2015. And I thought that I would start with 5,000. Little did I know it would cost a little bit more than that. And here we are 6 years later, got about 28 different products. And we sell products through the wineries, my best customers, and also chemists, gift stores. So the top bags you see behind me are pure cooler bags. So you look inside and they've got a silver interior. The ones on the next shelf, although they're old styles, they have the concept that if you look into the handbag, they look like a handbag because they are a handbag, but there is a removable cooler pocket inside that you can remove. You can put it in the fridge or you don't have to have it at all, but ladies usually use it either to put their wine in if they're going to a girlfriend's house, and it's much nicer than turning up with a bottle of wine in a paper bag, or lunch, and also medication. I've got a lot of ladies that buy my bags. They've got thyroid medication. It needs to be kept cool. So the idea is to keep, what is important to you cool inside your handbag as well as look stylish.
Fantastic. Thank you. So Elise, I know at the age of 19, purchased an existing business, Fair Dinkum Dog Coats, it was known as, and it was selling wholesale to pet stores across Australia, but she made the transition to an online business. But Elise, just explain to us a bit about what Fair Dinkum Dogs is and what do you sell? Unmute yourself first.
Here I am. So we hand make waterproof dog coats out of premium oilskin, and we hand make them to fit any breed, shape or size. So that's our point of difference, is that a lot of dog coat brands, if it doesn't fit, well, too bad. Whereas we will always say, well, give us the measurements and we'll hand make it for you. So, and we've gone into breeds that are tricky to find coats to fit, like Dachshunds and Whippets and Greyhounds. Anything that I realised you couldn't get a coat to fit off the rack, I went, okay, right, well, I'm going to make it. And we also sell all natural, all natural Australian made and owned dog treats now. So that's working really well alongside our dog coats, because of course dog coats is very seasonal. So now with our dog treats, we've got people subscribing to receive them regularly, and we're really enjoying it.
Great. So Suzanne and Elise have two things in common. One, they're running their own small business. They're running them from home, and they're located in Central Victoria and doing them online. And thank you, Louise, obviously a happy customer there. You didn't mention, Elise, that sadly your coats last so long that they don't buy one every year, 15 years plus. So a great move expanding your range. So both these ladies are selling online, and that's the topic of today, particularly for those of you starting out or have just started. Let's learn from what Suzanne and Elise have learnt along the way. I can assure you it hasn't all been smooth sailing. So they've made many mistakes. Let's try and avoid the mistakes that they've made and get them to talk about that. Now, Elise, I'll keep with you because you made the transition from wholesale manufacturing, selling to online. And I can remember being quite startled by your proclamation at the time. You were going to write to all your customers and say, sorry, I'm not supplying anymore, I'm going online. Why did you make that decision?
Well, I've always had the personality that likes to please, which is probably why I custom make to any breed, shape or size. I put myself under that sort of pressure to do everything. But so I was working a lot of hours to please a lot of pet shops. And when I actually had my daughter, and in the few weeks that after she was born, I really looked at the figures and just went, trying to get up through the night to a young baby and keep up with all these pet shops was just not going to work for me. And ever since making that decision, writing a letter to all the pet shops and saying, I'm not going to supply you, I decided to sell direct to the customer. I have consciously made that decision in the business from then on, that my kids, my family, my mental health has to come first, and that the business will be worked around it. Right or wrong, that's the decision I've made.
Okay, we'll talk a bit about how it worked out for you afterwards. Suzanne, you could have gone in any direction, but did you start online right from the beginning, or did you do a mix?
The day that I came up with I woke up with the idea of Cool Clutch. And later that day, having sort of registered the name and all of the things, I sat down and I watched a 3-hour video that I found online, which was called Building an E-commerce Empire. And so that was my inspiration. That is exactly what I wanted to do. And I used to kid with my dad quite often, you know, I'm busy, I'm building an e-commerce empire. So being online, it was really, it was what I needed to do, because Cool Clutch actually came out of me being unwell. I'd been on work cover for 17 months. They'd deemed me well enough to go back to work, but I had no job. I felt completely unemployable. So I had to find a job to do. And I started off by selling bits and pieces from around the house. You know how you've always got something in your cupboard that you can sell. And I realized that I can actually sell things and start a business over the fence. You know, you didn't even have to sort of see people. And I thought, this is perfect for me. I need to find something that I can sell online. And so the idea of Cool Clutch really was straight away, I would just put it online, and then it would just be the orders come in and, you know, I pick and pack and out it goes. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Okay, you've already given away a great tip of an entrepreneur. They get online, they Google, they learn just by researching and asking questions. But what skills did you need, Suzanne, to develop that online business, and how did you go about developing them?
That's a really tough thing, because we don't all have the skills to run a business. My lack in skills is my accounting. I'm crap at looking at budgeting. I don't even budget for the household. You know, I don't look at it. So it's just a matter of understanding your weaknesses and where you need help, and then employing the person that fills that gap. Now, whether that's a staff member that sits in the office with you, or whether that's just the accountant that you use remotely. But I used right at the beginning, I've actually had quite a few different business mentors that have really guided me. I had no idea about running a business. I mean, all I knew was what I got from this 3-hour video. And so it's just finding the experts that can fill your gaps and knowing what your weaknesses are. And I think that's really important. And anybody can start a business. If I can start a business, anybody can.
So in terms of getting buying in that assistance to help you get an online platform started, what advice would you give, probably in retrospect now, looking back, what would be the best pathway to selecting the right online platform and someone to assist you to get that up and running?
Well, I think that my biggest money pit has been my website. I really have spent an awful lot of money on experts to build me a website that I had in mind. I had this sort of grand idea of what it should look like and how it should run. And if anybody came to me today and asked me, I would say, go Shopify and do it yourself. Because my last website that an expert created cost me $13,000, and I think I lasted about 4 months. I had probably 20% of my sales. It kept crashing. So these so-called experts aren't always experts. And so I taught myself Shopify within 24 hours because I had to do something. I had to recreate a new website to fill the gap, because I was just losing money all the time because nobody was ordering. So learning Shopify to a level that enables me to control it. I can then list my products. I can change my products. I can do marketing through Shopify. And I wish somebody had said to me right at the very beginning, because I would have saved an awful lot of money. And learning it yourself, it's if you're going to be online, then I think the most important tool that you have is your website. So you need to be all over it. You need to understand it. And if you don't understand it, then find somebody that can teach you. And I would not give it to anybody to run ever again.
Okay. Now, Elise, I know you've been doing had a similar pathway, that you've had various people build websites for you. Would you like to explain your journey?
So yes, I would agree with Suzanne in terms of you need to know how to work it yourself. It blows my mind a bit when other businesses say that they've got a team that runs it completely for them, because as Suzanne said, you really need to know how it works yourself. I do have a team that helps me with my website. So a lot of the time, I also use Shopify. A lot of the time, you can just make the adjustment yourself. Shopify is such an easy to use platform. There's help at every corner. but sometimes I don't have time to actually go looking for how to make that change. So then I'll just shoot it off to my website team that'll make the change for me. Also, in terms of hacking or anything like that, it's too far beyond me. And so I've got a team that supports me, and he's always there to back me if I need it.
Well, actually, you had an unpleasant experience. What would it be, nearly 12 months ago? Are you happy to share a little bit about that experience and what you learnt from it?
You're going to have to remind me, because if it's being hacked, I've been hacked a few times. So
yeah. I do remember you said that Shopify had actually stopped your sales until you got it resolved. So they're very strict on their end. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I've got a team that locks it down. If somebody's trying to hack me, they'll lock it down straight away, and we can normally get it all fixed. So there's no big issue, because they're there monitoring it at all times for me, and I can go be making coats or packaging orders. So that's fantastic.
So that's a service you've bought in, and you build that into, that's a business cost that you just have to wear.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you source that team?
Well, I actually was going to update my website, and I started interviewing different businesses that do that. And I came so close to going with another team. And it was really, really interesting, because something just put me off about this team towards the end, where I was about to sign the paperwork for them to do a whole new website for me. And I thought, I've got to trust my gut. Anyway, I did. I pulled out at the last minute and went with another company that for whatever reason, my gut told me that they were good people, that they were going to look after me on a personal level as well. And yes, so I pulled the pin on one team and went with another really quickly, and I've been really happy with my choice. I feel like they give far more than they take. So I pay a monthly amount to this team, and then I can just email them if something's concerning me. They'll often just call for a chat occasionally, and they've got a Facebook group where you can interact with other people that they support, and they often post videos where he's educating us basically. But I feel like that they've always given more than how much it cost me a month, so I'm happy to stick with them.
So I was just thinking, if you have a shop front, a physical building, you insure it. In this respect, it's a bit like your insurance, isn't it? Keeping you safe from cyber attack and all those things. So in terms of developing your skills, did you do anything? You learnt as you went, or did you get training? How have you developed your skills along the way?
I've a bit of everything, really. Often you just go looking. You need to make a change, so you literally just go looking for the answer within the back end of the website, and you'll go looking for it. There's with Shopify, they've got so much support. So as I said, if I've got time, I'll go through their chat box and ask for help or whatever. So I've learned as I've gone. But there's also Facebook groups that are Shopify businesses that you can ask the question there. And I've also got the team. If I really can't figure it out, I just shoot it off for them to do, because sometimes it's worth my while learning that skill and learning how to make the change. And other times I recognize I need to really be on that sewing machine, or and I just offload it. I think I'll never use that skill again. This is a once-off change, and I make the decision and scoot it off to the team to sort out.
Yep. So the easy part, getting your website up and running, products on it, looking fabulous. And I see someone's already commented they've checked out Suzanne, so that's great. I think I sent the links out with the reminder that you could check them out. How do you actually get customers to your sites? And I know Shopify has a lot assist you in this way. So I'll stay with you, Elise. You might as well keep going.
To get people to the website, we do use all the social media platforms. So for me, they call it an avatar, where you might think of your top 3 customers. So I've got John, who's sort of 55, and he loves his dog. He might have a rescue greyhound, and John might be more on Facebook. And then I've got Gemma, who's a pre-kids, loves her dog, you know, the dog's the baby, on Instagram. So we worked out 3 different avatars, and every time I'm on social media, I'll be thinking, right, today I'm talking to John. And so, and today I'm talking to Gemma on Instagram. So I'm mainly across Instagram and Facebook. I am very aware that there's other areas I could go into, but it's a time thing for me. I still am training staff to help me make my product. So as I've got my staff trained and they're making the coats for me, and we're growing a bigger team, I'll then venture out into other social media aspects. But the biggest thing that I've learned is everyone, for me, I don't know if it's every other business, but I have gone down the road of paying for ads. Now, the cost per acquisition, so the cost per transaction or to get an order, was just incredible. It was $35 to $40 an acquisition. So, and then I went down the road of Google. There's Google Shopping, things like that. What I've actually learned is that I'm better to put my time into organic SEO, so getting to the top. So rather than just paying to try and be up there, which is quite costly, I've put my time into looking at what are the keywords that people use to search me. And then I make sure that for every product on my website, I'm using those keywords. In my description, I'm using those keywords. And this is called organic SEO to get you. So basically Google goes, yes, they're using the same words that this person has searched, and that they'll get you up the top as quick as you can. So I also use Facebook groups. So funnily enough, I use a lot of free things. So organic SEO is just prepping the back of your website properly. And then with Facebook, I've discovered that groups work really well. So I've joined up with, you know, Whippets Victoria and Whippets Australia, and I get in there and I'll be like, hi, Elise here from Dinkum Dogs. You know, we handmade waterproof dog coats. And that's all free. You've just got to pop it in there yourself. It's not something you can schedule, but it works far better than paid advertising for me.
Mm. And you also have a monthly newsletter, I know, because it comes into my inbox.
Yes. So we've got, they call them EDMs, so email direct marketing. There you go, listen to that. So EDMs we use quite regularly. So we've got our monthly roundup. Now, what we've learned is that we don't have to be salesy. We can just literally talk to our people and be like, here's a dog that's available for adoption. Here's a feature dog. One of our customers will feature their dog. I think I actually featured Louise's dog a couple of times, her Kelpie.
It's star material, Louise. Beautiful Kelpie.
Oh, the photos that she sent me were amazing. Anyway, and this is the thing that I've just been so proud about, is that people love Australian made. They love small business. People like Louise who literally order a dog coat, take photos, send them to me and be like, yes, use them on your social media. However you know, I literally have had one photo shoot and the rest have been customers sending me the photos of their dogs wearing the product or off my mobile now.
So you're telling me about all this wonderful stuff you're doing, you know, pretty pictures everywhere. Are you noticing a difference when you do that? How do you know you're getting a return? Because it's still your time putting this stuff out. It's free, but it's costing you in time.
Well, the sales, basically, they come through. We've been flat out lately, and I've actually been shocked because I turned off any payment through Google. I mean, we are hitting our season too, so it makes sense that we're getting, but I remember looking last week at how many orders were going out the door and thinking in March last year, we would have done that in a week, and I was doing those orders in a day. So, and it's really interesting that I've turned off all paid forms of advertising, and I'm just communicating with my customer, and yeah, it's certainly working.
All right, good. Now, Suzanne, coming back to you, how have you been bringing customers to your site? And are you doing a mix of things? I know you've got the wineries and a few places as well. How are you approaching it?
Well, I actually changed things up June last year. And I was finding the same as Elise, just I was spending hundreds of dollars on Google Shopping, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. I had a staff member spending most of her time doing the posts that go onto social media. And by the time I sat down and worked it out, I was actually buying orders. So it really did equate to nothing, really. You know, what I was spending on advertising and a staff member, I was really just selling my products, and the only thing really was just turning over stock. So I shut everything down. I completely withdrew from the B2C market, or at least promoting to the B2Cs. And so I was able to let my staff member go. I have saved a phenomenal amount of money on not spending it on advertising in Facebook and just doing posts, which I do very rarely these days, because my main focus now is the B2B business, so the selling to wholesale. I find that they know my product, they do my selling for me, and basically I just the orders come in. I've been doing some sales calls this morning. I spoke to one customer who's, oh, got nothing on the shelf. Yes, let's place an order for Easter. So it's so much easier than trying to get the individual orders. Like that order was for she ordered 20 bags. Now,
you already have in stock. You don't have to make like Elise does.
No, I don't have to do anything. Yeah. So it doesn't stress me at all, especially as when we moved from Gisborne to Riddells Creek, we closed down the we were at Gisborne self-storage with all of our stock, and I sent it up to Sydney to a logistics company. So they do my picking and packing. So basically an order comes in and all I have to do is create the zero invoice. Now I do that manually because I choose to. I could pay for an app, but I would rather do it myself and do it so that I have more control over it. I send out the invoice and I get paid, and I've sold 20 bags. And had I sold 20 bags to customers, it would have probably cost me $150 a bag to actually sell a $50 bag. It was getting really crazy. And what I was finding with Facebook is that the cost of it just kept going up. And then I'd say to my sister, oh, did you see the advert that I did? No, I didn't see anything that you do. For some reason, I don't see anything you do anymore. And it just, the algorithms, and it just got too much of a headache.
What I love about
you should do that if that's what your business does, but for us it works to do.
And that's what I love about small business. You can change, depending on your needs at the time. Elise has come from wholesale to online. You've been online to a little bit of the opposite. So it's the thing is you can chop and change according to your needs.
We've had to, like during the main COVID period of time when everybody was locked down, I lost 91% of my customers because my wholesale customers were closed. Wineries were closed. The only people that really were open were chemists and maybe a convenience store. So I had to do something. So back then I joined Catch, My Deal, Mosaic Brands. I've even talked to Dan Murphy's. I had to do something. But my wholesale customers understood that. They were all at home anyway. They didn't really care, and they were certainly weren't selling. So it was really only at the end when everything opened up that I've come away from doing that. So you just have to you have to react to what's going on.
And don't have all your eggs in the one basket. There's the moral of the story.
Absolutely.
Online is a wonderful egg, a golden
still
egg.
there, but I don't promote it. So
Yeah.
I've still got great
That's your
repeat
choice.
customers. I've still got some beautiful advocates out there that I find once somebody has my handbags, you know, they go around to their girlfriends and say, oh my God, you've got to see my handbag. Look what I've got. So I've still got that advertising.
They can go on and buy.
And they can come and order online. I just don't promote it.
You just reminded me something that is relevant to Elise too. She shut her website down. Or is that the right terminology, Elise, when you had your second child? What did you actually do? Because you thought, I can't physically make a dog coat. That control. What did you do in that instance?
So I have been doing it for 15, 16 years now. But after I had my first daughter, so she's about to turn 10, I made that decision that I'm going to be a mum first, and this business will go around that. And so when I was about to have our second child, who turned out to be Phoebe, I just emailed all my customers, got on Facebook and said, look, I'm about to have a baby. I'm right to keep sewing until this time. But after that, I'll be taking a bit of a break. And what I've found along the way is just our customers are just so supportive. I mean, everybody loves Australian made. Everybody loves a small business. So if you're just honest with people, and, you know, even to this day, if we're run off our feet or something's happened, I just email, hey, it's going to be 5 days longer than I anticipated. I'm happy to refund. And everyone's like, no. We'll wait. So I've just always played the game of being totally honest and just upfront with our customers, and it's always seemed to work. Can I just say something about online sales and things like that? Influencers too are fantastic, and it's not free. You're not, you know, it's not free. You've still got to send your product to people that might suit the brand, the product, and asking them. I actually haven't done it yet. I think I've done it once, but I am going to head down that road when I want to ramp up sales. At the moment, I don't want to ramp up sales too much because you've still got to be able to fulfill them. But I think that would be a cheaper acquisition than Facebook advertising, Google shopping, all that sort of stuff. Is just getting people to talk about your product online.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with that. We've used influencers, but I've never paid an influencer. So I will only work with influencers, and there are a lot out there that are quite happy to receive free product. And when you pay for an influencer, you get like one Instagram story and one post. Whereas if you work with an influencer that loves your product, they're still posting about it. You know, they still, because they love it, it's a genuine advertising. So yes, absolutely for influencers for us.
Great job. Now, I'm conscious I've been asking all the questions. Who would like, we haven't covered so many things. I'd love someone from our audience to have a question, please. Who would like to ask a question? I'm going to go back to gallery so I can actually see everybody.
I've got a question, if that's okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask about influencers. How do you find the right influencer for your product?
All right.
Do you want me to answer that first? Yeah. I joined a group called Like-Minded Bitches Drinking Wine. They seem to be my people. And basically I would say, you know, I've got this product and I'm looking for influence or anybody that actually would like the product. I got so many people making comments, but I just filtered through. I then researched how many people have they got followers? Like, is it 23,000 followers or is it 2,300 followers? So it was just looking at who they've got, the sort of people. Is it the sort of people that you want your product promoted to? And I was very lucky because I was also looking towards that wine aspect for a lot of my products. I found a few influencers directly in that wine area. So, but it's just gut feel and research, and really who pops up was for me.
Elise.
So for me, I just said that I've only got one influencer, and the minute I said it, I was like, that's not right. But the funny thing is, she's an influencer, but she's turned out to be a really good friend anyway. So she actually has our home in Bendigo on Instagram, and I don't really think of her as an influencer, but she absolutely is. And she was so kind, and she came down and bought some dog treats off me, and she was taking photos and popping them up on her Instagram page. So it actually worked the reverse. She found me and just loved the product and was happy to share it. And then every time I went to Bendigo, I would be like, bring Sunny down, I'll give her some treats. So I always think of influencers as people I don't know that I've got to approach, but I've actually got a few customers that have turned into my influencers because they've posted some pictures, and they've been really beautiful quality pictures of the dog treats mainly. And I've been like, thank you so much. And I've started giving them a few more dog treats. And yeah, it hadn't occurred to me until now that they're actually influencers for me, but it's just happened naturally that we've ended up being good friends from it. And yeah, it works out both ways.
But there's nothing to stop you identifying someone that had a dog, or, as you say, Suzanne, loves their wine and is very fashionable. And if you do your research and approach them carefully, it could be a great relationship. And I have done a few interviews where, particularly those on YouTube that have a big following, a photographer was getting sent free products to, trial. So he'd get these wonderful products and he would trial them and talk about them, and no guarantees that it would be a good review. So there's a bit of a gamble there, and that's part of the relationship building, I guess, and making sure it's a good fit with the influencer that you're targeting. So great question, Michelle. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, Bree's just dying to ask a question, I can tell.
Elise, I was interested about your SEO searches. How did you go about finding keywords that were appropriate?
Now there is a Google Words. It's one of the Google things, but I tend to use another one called Google Trends. So if you go into Google Trends and you can type in waterproof dog coat, warm dog coat, and you can do up to 5 different wordings per se, and it will show you a graph. And I can click within Australia, within the UK. So basically Google Trends, you go there and then you pop in your words, your keywords, and then you compare it to another 5 different keywords, and the graph will show you and it will actually show you the times of years that they're Googling it, and which one works better than the other. So what was interesting for me is we call cotton fabric made waterproof oilskin in Australia. Most people know what that is, but in the UK, if I'm promoting to them, I call it waxed cotton because they wouldn't have a clue what oilskin is. Same product, 2 different names. So yeah, so anyway, Google Trends, I use that heaps, but there is another Google app. It's called Google Keywords. And admittedly, I haven't learned how to use that one yet, but Google Trends works fantastic at visually showing you what people Google.
And just another quick question, when you're talking about selling to the UK, did you have that in mind, or that's just something that's organically happened, that people from overseas have cottoned on to what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, most weeks we would post something overseas, Germany, UK. New Zealand at one stage was, I don't know what was going on, but it was flat out to New Zealand. And then, yeah, so we post internationally, but I've got my work cut out for me with Australian customers, so that just happens naturally. I don't go poaching them.
Now, thank you, Bree, for reminding me, because that came up in last night's conversation. We had one of our accelerator participants very interested in international sales. So how do your websites account for the different currencies and things? Does Shopify organize that all for you, or did you have to do extra work to cope for international customers?
No, Shopify is set up. It's an amazing site. I don't even, you can just set it up from day dot that it does international worldwide sales. There is, I can tell you a story about something that I came close to doing, and I'm glad I didn't. So everybody knows Amazon is probably bigger in the UK than it is Australia. It's growing quicker. It's growing slowly in Australia, but in the UK, it's quite big. They do this thing called fulfillment. So you can actually post a heap of coats to their fulfillment centre, and then they'll disperse them from there. So I got really busy making, and I was determined this was what I was going to do. You know, I had dog coats piling up everywhere, and I was like, I'm going to post it to Amazon Fulfillment Centre. So basically you set it up at your end within Amazon, within the website, but then it goes to their fulfillment centre, and as the orders come in, they disperse them to where they need to be. Anyway, I came so close, and all of a sudden I must have seen something on the news or something like that. And I started researching, and once again, the gut said, oh, hang on just a minute, I'm not sure about this. And I pulled back, and I had all these dog coats there in our summer. And it turns out Amazon were actually copying a lot of the products. So, so basically they were going through their own warehouses and going, oh, this is great, this is selling really well, and off they went. And so I'm glad I didn't make that decision in the end to do that. But within our Shopify website, you can set it up so that it's selling from multiple places. So if I update my inventory within Shopify, it updates it with eBay. So yeah, so it's all automated.
All right. Now we've got a question, and it's not a rookie question because we all want to know these. How good is Shopify in terms of you've got orders, they're processed? Does it print the labels? What are the bells and whistles of Shopify? So Suzanne, would you maybe Elise would like to?
I don't use that feature.
Okay, Elise does though. You tell us what it can do, Elise.
So there's a app called ShipStation, which basically it's an app that you pay for that converts all the sales that you've got through your Shopify website across into Australia Post. So basically it just pops the information from there to there. And then basically you can literally just hit in your Australia Post account. You say, yes, I want to post that one. I'm going to post that one. So it may put all the information across, but it won't actually send it until you say so. And then I use a Dymo label printer. I got the 4XL, I think it is. And that is amazing. It's like my baby. I was so excited when I got that because I was handwriting all my postage up until then. So now when I print it out, I'm like, oh, that was so much easier. It's all anyway, it's a very good printer.
And even for small sales, like with my books, Elise got me to register with Australia Post as a business account, and it's wonderful. You know, it will print my label out and I pay for my postage online at home, and then I can just virtually hand it over the counter down at the Australia Post. So it's really good. And if I've got multiple sales, I can print them off all at once. So Rodney, was there, oh, I'll come back to you, Rodney. Jackie's got her hand up. Question, Jackie.
Thanks, Kerry. Either to Kerry or Suzanne, how do you so 2 questions. How did you, so what payment system works for you? Like, I think there's Square, Stripe, PayPal, all those ones. Which one works well for you and why?
Suzanne, you can go first.
When I've done markets and things like that, because of being online, I wanted to get in front of customers right at the very beginning, and I really wanted to understand their avatar, the personas of the customers, so that I could really sort of hone in on who I was actually talking to in my social media. So I used to do markets to get face-to-face. So that is very simple with a Square. So the Square is just it's just a touch. So that is attached to my iPad and my phone, and the customers just touch their cards on that. Okay. Online, when I was selling B2C, I had Klarna, Afterpay, ZipPay, eWay, and they all cost money. Some are 2.9%, some are 1.7%. And when I made the decision to just concentrate on wholesale, I turned all of that off. Now, online for my customers, I just offer eWay. I've got it set up. They pay by credit card. All of the information is held by somebody else. It's not held within my website. So my website doesn't hold any credit card details. It's all done off site. So I don't have that issue at all. Nothing in my website is really worth hacking because I don't store any information. So eWay is the one and only payment gateway I have now. That also can be linked to my Xero. So what I do is I send an invoice to my wholesale customers, and I've set it up that it has a pay now button. So they click on the invoice, they pay now, and then they can enter their credit card details, or they find my bank details and then they can direct debit to me. But I just find that one payment gateway is the best. Otherwise, it was just taking money off the bottom line with all the fees.
Okay, Elise.
Yeah, so I use Square as well. And then with the Shopify website, we've got PayPal and Shopify, like lots of different credit card. It was that long ago that I set it up, but definitely Stripe you have to have for Afterpay. I'm pretty sure, is that right, Suzanne? Yeah, you have to have. So I got Stripe because it was needed for Afterpay, and then I've got PayPal, which is just a given, and then Square Reader I got for in person. Interesting, when a customer comes here, I often just put it straight through the back end of my website, type it in, because that way they will give me their email, which will, and I often need their postage address anyway to post the code to. So I just put it through the back of the website and then ask them if they want to sign up to our email once a month as well. But yeah, as many options as you can have is better, but you pay a percentage of the sale. So they don't have a monthly fee, it's just a percentage of whatever sales you get.
And the other question, sorry to bombard, is when it comes to postage. So, there's so many options out there, Australia Post, Sendle. So my product's quite heavy. So I found that cost of setting it's quite expensive. So how did you go about deciding which ones to go through? I think, Suzanne, your bag's quite bulky. So how do you work out who to send it through and how to put that into your cost?
For me, when I was doing my own picking and packing and shipping out, I used Fastway. They've changed their names to Aramex.
Yeah.
Because Australia Post cube the product, whereas Fastway is, if you're sending it from here to that area, it's a lime label. If you hear it to that label, it's an orange label. So you knew exactly how much you were being charged. Their service, you know, was a bit hit and miss, and I think they've probably improved since then. But because I ship air, you're right. It's a very big, bulky item, but it might weigh 2 kilos. But I would pay for a 12 kilo size because once it's cubed out, which is what Australia Post does. So depending on what your product is, I would have thought with Elise, she could maybe even put it into a satchel, and therefore that will be cheaper. So it really does depend on what you're shipping.
I originally signed up for e-parcel with Australia Post, only to realise, so you have to do, I think it's 1,000 posts a year to be able to get e-parcel. It's quite a lot of paperwork to sign up. I signed up and then realised, oh golly, I'm actually better to be doing it with Australia Post. They've got, if it packs, it sends, which they've got satchels or boxes. So as long as it's under 5 kilos, you're right. If it fits in that, off it goes, you know how much you're going to pay. So that works for my product because only maybe 3 or 4 parcels out of all of our parcels in a week will be over 5 kilos. Most of them come in under. So, but with e-parcel, as long as you're doing 1,000, I believe from my understanding, it works out cheaper if you've got heavier items.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, that's good to know.
Now,
thank you.
Rodney, you have a very different type of product.
Can I just go back to the question on those, the payment gateways that you had? If you are selling to B2C, you have to offer everything. But you just have to make sure that it's in your profit. Really, I was just looking up. I'd written it out at one stage. So PayPal charge 2.6% plus 30 cents per transaction. Afterpay charge 6% plus 30 cents per transaction.
Wow. Zip
Pay can be between 2 and 4% and 15 cents per transaction. Klarna is 4.49% plus 30 cents per transaction. There's a Go cardless that you can get. That's a 1%, but it's capped at $4 and 40 cents per transaction. Stripe is 1.75% plus 30 cents per transaction. So, and Square is 2.2%. So just make sure that you know those figures. Now that was a while ago I did that, so apologies if it's changed, but it just shows you have to offer Afterpay, because that's the big thing for the millennials at the moment. That's what they want, and that's what will sell your product. But just be aware that it's 6%.
Suzanne, where do we get that information? Sorry, Kerry.
I just went through every single one.
And can I ask also, how common is Afterpay? Because I don't use it, so that's
very, very, very popular with the youngies.
Wow. Okay.
If they buy off Instagram, they will almost expect Afterpay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to do some avatars, Jackie, and then you'll know exactly how they shop.
Oh no, I've got to get to the markets.
Yes, that's right. And the important thing is these are costs. You need to be aware of them, and Suzanne's done her homework, so that's great. But the alternative is, if you're in a shop front, you're paying someone to stand at that till to hand out the money or take, whichever way you go, online transactions. Not paying with cash is quite a rarity these days. So there's costs whichever way you go, and online still is far cheaper than having a shop front. Now, Rodney, you have very different types of products. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask of Suzanne or Elise?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I do. I'd like to thank everyone for their time. It's been really fantastic today, quite informative. And some of the questions that I had have been answered. With my business, just getting back to postage and so forth, I was using Sendle, which has been bought out by Aramex, and then had a lot of problems late last year with them. Went back to Australia Post. And if you're sending to private people, I find Australia Post much better, because they can collect it at the post office if nobody's home, whereas Sendle or Aramex is a problem if it's going to a private address and no one's home. But obviously in some of these cases it's going to businesses, so that's not an issue. But one of the big problems with my business is keeping down all these external costs. I seem to be 30-40% of my sales seems to be going in expenses to other businesses putting their finger in your pie, so to speak. So, but probably a couple of questions that I had was with social media. Have you found any particularly better than others? Like obviously you appear to be using Instagram and Facebook. Are there other avenues that people are using?
There are, but we've only ever used Facebook and Instagram. Because I think Elise said it earlier. There's TikTok and there's all the Snapchats. It's time, and I think it's best to pick 2 wherever your customers are, and then just focus on that. Otherwise, you'll spend the entire time doing social media, and it takes a lot of time.
Good advice, and knowing your customers, Rodney. So what do your customers use? So you can't be everywhere doing everything. Yeah. And we've got Lauren, the young person in the room, amongst a few others, putting all her thoughts up. So Instagram girl and all of these things. So thank you. Are there any last minute questions that anyone would like to ask before we wrap this up? Because it's been a great conversation. Rodney, another question.
Yeah, no, I just had one other quick one was obviously I gather that you've done some sales on Gumtree or eBay at some stage. Did you find them worthwhile, or did you find any other sort of avenues, or the Facebook groups were more successful for your products?
Good question. Suzanne.
I have used eBay, and it's very easy because with Shopify you can link straight across to eBay. Don't get a lot of sales from it. People, I think, have gone off eBay from what I can gather, and my customers don't seem to be eBayers. But at one stage it was worth being anywhere and everywhere.
Elise.
I have to agree with Suzanne. Our products probably are more of a premium product, so eBay tends to be a bit different. But you have to be on eBay for SEO reasons. So it works really well to be on. I've got to get over to YouTube myself. I know this, but basically, as Suzanne said, you need to be everywhere, because then you're recognised online. Your presence online is much more known. With eBay, it works directly off Shopify, so you set it up and it works automatically with the inventory. So I change the inventory in Shopify, it changes it on eBay. But you do actually have to go into, once you've set up your app on the back end of Shopify, you do need to actually go into the app and go through each of your items, because you might actually choose to change the name of your product for eBay purposes. So on my website, it will say waterproof dog coat, greyhound design, but then I'll change it on my eBay app to be lots of keywords. Basically, it doesn't have to look as neat and pretty as a name. You just use all your keywords, small to extra large and all that sort of stuff. To try and get it to pop up the top when somebody searches within eBay. Yeah.
All right. Now, sadly, we have reached the limit of our time. Thank you, everybody. But I'm sure if you've got the websites for Suzanne and Elise, I encourage you to look at their sites. And I'm sure if you emailed them, they would answer any other questions that come to mind. But thank you, Elise. Thank you, Suzanne. And thank you, Lauren, and everybody for coming along and asking your questions. It's been another great little discussion. So
thank you for asking me, Kerry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
it's great.
Bye,
thank you.